Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of a watch and watch brand that is brand new to me and therefore brand new to the channel. They're from Brooklyn, New York, and the brand is called Hesili. Sam, the owner, got in touch with me a couple of months ago asking if I'd be interested in reviewing his wares. I had a good look and I said yes please. Now you saw the pop-up? This video is sponsored by Hesili. I will therefore leave a link in the description of the video to their website. There is a 15% discount offer on these at the moment, taking the price down from 600 USD to just over 500 USD. Now for that you get a very attractive neo-vintage Swiss-made dress watch with a couple of quite different characters depending on which of their straps you choose to pair it with. Now this all sounds fairly normal. Why the dramatic thumbnail today then, Jody? Well, I f***ed up. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. I've had this one in Sydney for about 5 weeks, plenty of time to get a handle on it, so I thought I'd better get a move on and I would film it for the video. Like I said, it came with 2 straps, and the strap you choose really changes how the watch looks, how it wears and how it feels. So I was swapping back and forth between the 2 quick release straps over the course of filming the video, and I dropped the watch, giving it a big dirty dint in its shiny, high-polished stainless steel bezel. Oops. So there will come a point about halfway through this video where this lovely Hesili acquires a not so lovely scar on its pretty face. Sorry about that. Let's flip the camera and have a look at it. Alright, let's start with a quick look at their website so we know what we're dealing with. There are a number of different colour variants of this one available, and one that isn't available because it's sold out. That's the champagne cream one with blue hands. If you're keen on that one, send Sam an email. I'm sure he'll have details regarding when they're going to be restocked. So a few different colours and a couple of different choices regarding the dial and the hands. They either come high polished silver or with a copper look, which they describe as two-tone. So one watch, but a number of different looks available, and that's before we even get into straps. They come supplied on the pebble finish, not quite an Epsom but not far off, and there are vegetable tanned Italian leather straps as an optional accessory. I really like those vegetable straps. I would definitely be specking one on in addition to the pebble. It chunks up the watch considerably and makes it more casual and less dressy. Plus, you can complete your set with a matching watch winder. Sam was kind enough to send me one of these as well. I think I will keep it for a Christmas giveaway or something like that later on in the year. Thank you, Sam. Alright, onto the packaging. It's a nice big box, black outer box, green inner box. Green seems to be the company colour. There's an instruction manual combined with a warranty card, a little hang tag reminding you the company may be based in New York, but the watch is very much Swiss made. You also get a polishing cloth, though I'm not sure whether it's for the watch or the watch box, and there is the Hesili. It doesn't seem to have a model name, just names for each of the colours. This is the velvet green duotone. I asked for this one specifically. It has those copper colour hands against the green dial. Now much of the footage you see today is either static or dynamic. If static, it has been shot from a bit of an angle. Those copper toned hands appear and disappear depending on the light conditions, and from a front-on static shot they look much darker than they are. It kind of misrepresents them, which is why I chose to show you them from an angle. For one of these dynamic shots you can see what I mean. There are 7 coats of anti-reflective treatment on each surface, so top and bottom of the crystal today, so you get to see the glinting and the light play that comes from the hands, the numerals and the indices, and that big high polished stainless steel bezel, of course, currently unscratched. And it is quite a large bezel. This is a 40-20, so 40mm in diameter with a 20mm lug width, but it looks a bit chunkier because of the large fixed bezel and fairly broad haunches in the form of wide and long lugs at 48mm lug to lug. Only 10.5mm thick though, including double dome sapphire, and on this pebble grain strap, the one that's stock, it weighs in at 71 grams. 50 meters of water resistance from a push-pull crown is fine, and being Swiss made necessitates a Swiss movement. Hesili chooses the STP 111 to power this one. Now thankfully I did manage to shoot the case finish shots before I destroyed the case finish. You've got a fine horizontal brush on the mid case, a slightly rough brush to the upper lug surfaces, and a high polished transition running all the way from end to end and actually around the lugs as well, which is nice. The bezel has a smooth polished upper surface but a little circular brush to its edge. It's a 6.3mm pumpkin crown, which is a nice touch. It would be an even nicer touch if it were signed. Lovely piece of glass though. So much AR that it really lets the hands and indices do their thing underneath it. Let's have a look at these straps then. The supplied Pebble Finish one comes in this muted grey brown. It's very comfortable, has quick release spring bars, it's stamped with the brand logo, has the usual 2 retainers, one fixed, one mobile, and a rather elegant buckle, all high polish with the brand name etched into it. This strap is 2.3mm thick for your reference. This is the optional vegetable tan leather Italian number. It is 3.6mm thick, hence why it feels much chunkier on wrist, changing the character of the watch from dressy to casual. If that's not what you want, then obviously don't option it. I like it though, it smells good and it will age really nicely. Both straps have sealed sides, which means you aren't going to trash them doing dishes. It isn't cheap at $50 US, but that's at least what you pay for a decent collar rep, if not more. Case back, circular brush, nice fine etching with the brand name in a brocade style frame. Their tagline, New York elegance, Swiss craftsmanship, and the customary spec sheet around the outer edges. If I pull back and use the power of video editing, I can show you exactly which piece of Swiss craftsmanship lurks behind that screw-on caseback. As mentioned, it's the STP-111. If you are unfamiliar with this thing, it, like the Sellita SW200, is yet another clone of the ETA 2824. So 26 jewel, hacking and hand winding, roughly 40-hour power reserve, and always more decorated than its counterparts. Hiceli claim it has been tested in 5 positions. I won't test this one because I dropped it and that would not be fair. Dial and hands are very traditional, from the train track around the outer edge to the cabochons to the chosen numerals to the unloomed sword handset. As noted, depending on version chosen, you can get these high polished silver or this goldy copper look. No complaints about the finishing at all. The hands look immaculate under my macro lens and under my loupe, which I tested. Really beautifully done. They call this a lacquer dial, but it still has quite a matte finish. I guess there's enough going on with the high polished hands and indices that it doesn't need anything else. Branding is kept here to a minimum, and of course the words Swiss made feature either side of that little truncated arrowhead at the 6. I do like the porthole date complication also at the 6. It's discreet but still usable, and has a pleasant, high-polished circular frame, also in copper tone. And if we switch to another dynamic shot, once again you can see the light play, you can see the hands coming and going, appearing and disappearing. This style of dial looks pretty sensational if you get the light correct and it catches all of the numerals at once. That's why they chose to double down on the AR with this one, to really maximise the crystal and what lies beneath it. On wrist there are no great surprises. It's slim, it's light, it's comfortable, both straps are good and look like they will serve you for many years. The Pebble one could definitely be in a more interesting colour though. Perhaps it's more suited to some of the other colour variants than it is to this green duotone. I prefer it on this vegetable tan version therefore, in golden brown with texture like sun. I think the watch both looks better and feels a little more robust on wrist into the bargain because that strap is considerably thicker. Pocket shot, fits my 7-inch wrist nicely, plenty of metal though as discussed due to that big boy bezel. Alright then, let me confess my sins. Oh, look what I did to the bezel just at the 8. That is pretty nasty, and because it's a high polished bezel there is absolutely no chance that that is going to brush out. I'm kind of stuck with it therefore. There's also a second mark at the 9 o'clock and there's a couple of smaller nicks elsewhere on the bezel. Yeah, look, not the first watch that I've scratched, but I can't remember scratching one quite as badly as this before. Alright, moans and niggles, I do have quite a few, but there's nothing major. It's only a 1-year warranty, and for 500 plus, it really should be a 2. And on that note, you definitely need 15% off to really bring out the financial appeal in this one, shall we say. It's a much more viable option at 500 than it is at 600. And I've owned and run numerous STP-111s and watches over the years without incident or complaint, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I would rather have one than a Sellita or an ETA, because that would be a lie. The crown is unsigned, a pet peeve of mine, even though I just bought a $2,000 Citizen with an unsigned crown. Perhaps they could fix that in the future. The brushing on the upper lug surfaces is also a little bit rough. I'm sure that was a conscious choice, but I prefer it smoother and finer myself. And the big bezel does rather shrink the dial and give this one a more chunky look than it would otherwise have, because of all that metal on show. Again, a conscious design choice I'm sure, but just something that you have to bear in mind. And the handset is cool, but perhaps it would have been even cooler if they had done a dual finish, half frosted, half polished, like Seiko do on some of their Presage line. But overall, I think it's a decent first effort. Let's not forget it is the brand's first watch after all. New York elegance with Swiss craftsmanship is an appealing combination, particularly if you live in New York, I assume. And the fact that a micro brand is US based will have its own set of appeals for US based customers also, I appreciate. All of which makes me even sorrier that I dropped it. So there you have it, leaving the damage I inflicted on this poor watch to one side for the moment. It's a perfectly pleasant retro-inspired watch that veers from dressy to casual and back again, depending on how you choose to accessorise it. At $500, after the discount, the value is okay, and there's definitely room for improvement. I'm sure if Sam continues to grow the business, then we will see other Hasilis in the future. If this one didn't quite float your boat, but you're looking for something similar, click here or here. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope to see you again in a future one.